Welcome to the first ever video here on NASCAR Nation in association with our other channel, Kaulignation. This channel gives us the opportunity to talk about some non-Kaulig related and non-SVG related NASCAR items. Joining me as always, my partner in crime, Ryan. What's going on, brother?
Hey, it's going pretty good, man. I am super excited to branch off a little bit and talk NASCAR in general. I know we touched on it ever so briefly in our other channel, but this really opens the door for us to really dive into the nuts and bolts of some of the big news stories of the week. So I am very happy to be here.
Yeah, we're a little behind on this one just because of scheduling, but obviously the Daytona 500 has come and gone. Junior Motorsports, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and company participated in that. They didn't race their way in on speed. They had to race their way in during the duels. Justin Allgaier driving a Chris Stapleton sponsored, what's the sponsor now? Something whiskey, premium whiskey, something like that.
Traveler's Whiskey.
Traveler's Whiskey, yes. And that was an effort fully paid for by them, which, is no cheap thing to do in today's industry. They showed well. They got a top 10 finish. Obviously, Junior got just absolutely plastered with questions after the race. What he thought of it, how did he enjoy the weekend? Clearly, he has the itch, the bug. He wants to do it, would like to start more races this season if sponsorship allows him to. But he made very clear something that we've talked about off air before, is he will not sacrifice his kids or his family's future to go cup racing. Before we dive into the business thing here for a few minutes, what did you think of their cup performance at the 500?
Yeah, I thought it was really solid. I mean, at the end of the day, the Daytona 500 is a bit of a crapshoot, and they survived the carnage, brought it home in the top 10, which is always a good thing. It's hard to gauge. I think Justin Allgaier, who is a great driver and somebody that I feel like should have more opportunities at the cup level, piloted his machine very well, stayed out of trouble, stayed with the main pack all night long, and did a great job of navigating some of the issues, that other drivers weren't able to. So, I really do grade that they did everything as well as they could. We talked, ad nauseum about the small details, not making mistakes on pit road, not having any sort of mechanical failures. And you know what? For their first race out of the box, they came in and performed as flawlessly as a team could. Their pit stops were right where they needed to be, no loose wheels, no speeding penalties, nothing. So, when I grade the performance of the team, they race like a team that's been there before. And for a lot of these guys, a lot of the people that helped do this project had been retired for many years, and they came out to do this one-off race. So when you put all those pieces together, it was a very impressive performance. They definitely exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, Junior was very blunt with talking about how they can get away with doing that at a place like Daytona or Talladega or possibly even Atlanta, and not having to bridge the gap between them and teams that have to race every week, where if they go and do that at a more normal track, there is going to be growing pains for sure. I want to get into his comments off of the track, though, about the business side of things, about his ability to acquire a charter, where his terms are for it. As we know, charters are going for about $40 million a piece. He does think it's worth the investment given where the agreement is now, but mentioned at most he would be willing to put in is 5 to 10 million, 10 being on the higher side. So, he's open to owning 25% of the charter, it sounds like. The issue here is he wants investors or an investor to come in and have absolutely no say whatsoever in personnel decisions on or off the track, or driver decisions or whatnot. And Well, as Han Solo told Luke Skywalker in the original Star Wars, that's the real trick, isn't it? And it's going to cost something. And the simple truth is, I don't know if he will, and I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade because I want Junior Motorsports in the Cup Series. I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. owning a Cup team can only benefit the sport. But the idea that you're going to have someone come and invest 75% of a charter and have no say whatsoever is very, very unlikely, even for Junior in today's industry.
Yeah, what this reminds me of is, this is going back a few years now, but when Gene Haas basically gave full control of his race team to Tony Stewart, and they rebranded as Stewart Haas Racing. And at that point in time, Tony Stewart did not have to put up any money. He was just given an ownership stake. And frankly, this is basically the deal that Junior wants. He wants somebody to come in, foot the bill, and let him put his name on the door and run the operation the way he sees fit. That's unlikely in today's world, just as you stated. It's certainly not out of the realm that you can find investors. He's Dale frickin' Earnhardt Jr., right? People will partner with him. But finding that right partner that's willing to give him the control he wants while putting the funding together is obviously much easier said than done. These rumors of him going Cup racing have been around for 2 or 3 years now, and obviously this was his first attempt at a race. So I certainly think they've been pursuing this. But he said something that I found really interesting, and that was, he wasn't sure if he wanted to do this because he wanted to do it, or because it was expected of him to do it because of what his name is. And now that he's done this race and he's felt that exhilaration of being an owner and having a car in the field and getting a good quality finish, he said, "Oh yeah, I've got the bug. This is not something that I was worried that it would be something that was expected and not what I want. It's what he wants. He wants to do this." So, I feel like he will pursue some opportunities a little harder than maybe he has in the past years. It's going to be really hard for him to find an investor to cough up $30 million and not have say in the organization. But I think there could be a group of investors that come together and put something together. I don't think we'll see it this year, but I definitely think we'll see a Junior Motorsports on the track in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I don't think it's coming together in the very near future, maybe next season or the season after. I do think it is far more likely that you could get 4 or 5 more people involved in an ownership group rather than 1 or 2 more people footing $15 million a piece and having absolutely no say in what goes on. And I'm telling you, even with an investor group, if it's 5 or 6 people involved, there's going to be some mouthpieces in that group that want say. And I just wonder if his expectations, maybe not expectations, but his terms need to change just a little bit in order to make this happen. He might need to put in $15 or $20 million to make this happen rather than 5 or 10, where, if he gets 20, even 21, then you're talking about being the majority owner and then having other people fill out the rest. Then I think you can sell them a little more on, no, we're doing the personnel decisions. If you're only owning, potentially only 25% or less, even for Dale Jr., that's a hard sell, but I think the NASCAR Cup Series would benefit from it greatly. Ryan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and say NASCAR is going to help negotiate a deal, but I definitely think NASCAR will push Junior to try to make a deal because he is still to this day the most popular person in the sport. And having his name on the door panel, right next to the Michael Jordans of the world, really will make a difference for the longevity of the sport. And listen, a lot of owners are getting pretty old, right? We need younger, names that will carry this sport for the next generation. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is certainly that person. So I do think we'll see this come together. I definitely tend to agree that he'll have to give up some control. But at the end of the day, he is still the most marketable person in the sport. His name is more valuable than anything NASCAR has to offer. And with that, I do think he will have some sway that, simply put, nobody else would. So I would be curious to see how this all comes together. I think it will. It's just how quickly can it happen. But I will say this. The momentum is there. I definitely know they're pushing for it behind the scenes. This is the time to strike. So we'll see what happens there.
We will follow it closely here on NASCAR Nation in the weeks, months, and potentially years to come. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications to all in order to keep up with all of our content. If you're a Kaulig Racing fan, or an Allmendinger fan, or a Christian Eckes fan, or even an SVG fan, check out our Kaulignation YouTube page for more content there. We just did a video about the good and the bad for Atlanta, or of Atlanta, pardon me. But for Ryan, I'm Sean. We'll see you next time right here on NASCAR Nation.